Welcome to Lesson 2, Understanding the Maturity of Your Revenue Strategy. Now that we've firmly established the foundational building blocks, your strategic choices in go-to-market and your revenue model, we can now pivot to the most critical part of the conversation, mapping the actual progression of your operations. Because strategy is nothing without execution, right? So, we're going to dive deep into what we call the go to market maturity framework today. This isn't just some academic concept, it's a comprehensive, practical methodology for measuring precisely where within the growth cycle your business is currently operating. It's your GPS for RevOps success, so to speak. I know this is a little overwhelming, but trust me, I'm going to break it down. So, let's dive into the go to market maturity framework. Our maturity model moves through 5 distinct progressive levels. Think of them as ascending gears in a powerful machine. Each level you unlock doesn't just improve things a little, it unlocks an entirely new tier of insight, predictability, and control over your financial future. Your ultimate goal is to move your business from a chaotic, reactive, immature state of business and revenue operations to a fully predictable, sustainable, financially integrated level of mature operations. You're moving from a state of guessing to a state of knowing. Let's talk first and foremost about why enhancing the maturity of your business operations is so critically important. Because let's be honest, many organizations today are sitting on a gold mine. They have access to vast, unprecedented amounts of revenue data that is absolutely capable of maximizing their growth potential and eliminating painful, soul crushing friction in their processes, but they're not doing anything with it. Without knowing first how to capture critical data and then how to read it, understand it, and act on it, its immense value remains totally unrealized. It just sits there, an expensive liability instead of a strategic asset. Let me use a metaphor about one of my favorite things to get this across. Let's talk about a top of the line sports car, okay? Imagine owning a sleek, top of the line Ferrari. It's loaded down with every imaginable upgrade: powerful engine, custom navigation, advanced security system, the works. It's the ultimate driving machine. Here's the kicker: you don't know how to drive it. If this is the case, that beautiful, expensive, wonderful machine is just going to be sitting in the garage collecting dust. It'd be completely useless. At worst, actually, it would be a clunky obstacle you'd have to literally maneuver around every time you wanted to go outside, every day for the rest of your life. That is exactly what it's like if your revenue operations, if your business operations and your data collection aren't refined and crystal clear. You'd have the horsepower, but you'd lack the driving skills to ever get anywhere. Bridging that gap, the gap between having the data and being able to act on the data, is what it means to mature your operations. It's what it means to truly implement a comprehensive revenue operations strategy and start reaping the benefits of being able to map things like hindsight, what's already occurred. Think about looking in the rearview mirror. Insight, what can you optimize and improve in real time? Think about looking at your dashboard. Foresight, what can you count on happening in the future? Think about looking at the road ahead. To put it in terms of the RevOps flywheel and marry this analogy with a framework you're already familiar with, a company with a mature revenue operations setup will be able to use the organization. They would use the hindsight to identify areas of improvement. They would report on those insights available in real time and create actionable insights and then optimize for the future. With each level, your business grows and unlocks even more potential for growth. At level 1, you're organizing your data and creating alignment between all departments to ensure the data you're tracking is clean, clear, and universally accepted and adopted. Level 2 is where you dig in and clearly define exactly what you're measuring. You know what I'm about to say, right? Think back to class 1. Everyone has to be speaking the same language in order for you to all be pulling in the same direction. That's the key priority for levels 1 and 2, establishing your processes and metrics and organizing together. Level 3 provides the deeper dive into the who, what, where, and when of your primary metrics. This is where you start breaking down the information and digging deeper to create insights. In my experience, companies tend to stay at level 3 for a while, implementing the revenue operations flywheel and continuously optimizing and improving the metrics, processes, and the secondary partitions they've established to date. Here's the hard truth: you are probably not going to map the perfect operation strategy the first time you try it. That's why level 3 is so important. You have to take the time to dive into what it is that you're finally able to see up to this point and make adjustments and refinements as you see them. Because once you move to level 4, you're bringing in revenue data and you're moving on to starting to map and track the net revenue retention metrics we discussed in class 1. You need to have a very stable foundation before you start layering on the revenue. Level 5 is then where you have clear visibility into the entire length of the revenue journey with comprehensive end-to-end reporting. Okay, I'm going to pause again before we dig in deeper to each level. Let me answer a common question that I've often gotten. Is there a level 0? Yes, there actually is. An immature CRM or revenue strategy is one that is defined by chaos and confusion. There are no clearly defined performance indicators, no universal agreement on how things are measured, and therefore there's no visibility into the revenue cycle or a clear picture of the friction points. The dashboards, if they exist at all, are not built out to accurately visualize a unified customer journey. Let me give you a common example. The company has clearly identified their marketing KPIs and is tracking them religiously, but they're tracking them in a completely different system than sales. Or even if it's not in a different system than sales, it's in a way that sales either can't read or doesn't have access to. Why is that level 0? Because not all the information is in the same place or used accurately and consistently by all your revenue generating departments. That means nobody has the same level of visibility. Cross-departmental teams don't have the same information, which means all your metrics can't be easily compared. And you may not even know if you're tracking the right metrics. When not everybody has the same level of insight, there's no way to know how you're actually performing. The same language test here is what's going to be key. If your sales team defines deal amount differently than your finance team, or if marketing defines an MQL differently than sales, you're going to be murky on everything you have access to. You can't be absolutely sure you're comparing apples to apples. You need everyone in your department to be speaking the same language in order to know that. Otherwise, you can't guarantee consistent responses to your questions or a unified view of your business health. All right, let's dive into each level in more detail because the next lesson will be operationalizing each of these levels. So let's get to know them. Level 1, this is the most critical step, period. I've said it over and over in class 1. I'll keep saying it over and over in this class. If you don't have a strong foundation, your whole structure is going to crumble. It'll be built on sand. You have to successfully achieve level 1 in order to successfully achieve any other level and continue building upward. So let's talk about level 1. In this level, the foundational data level, this is where you're going to get your critical data sources all integrated. Business processes are going to be consistently trained on and documented, and all core data should be built within a single unified model, whether that is your CRM or an ERP or simply a documentation tool for your training. Everything needs to be in a single unified source of truth. The goal is to migrate and integrate all critical data sources. And I'm talking about all the things that you need data from: your marketing automation platform, your sales engagement tools, anything that you use and need metrics from need to be integrated into your single source of truth. The ideal end state for the foundational data level is one where you have a thorough understanding of how your business makes money, the basic flow of money. You need to map that revenue from start to finish and get that completely established and perfectly reflected in your company's data model. Then you're going to integrate your single source of truth with any third-party applications. You also need to go ahead and make sure that your foundational playbooks, your processes are built, documented, and enforceable in your single source of truth. Level 1 of maturity really forces every revenue generating team to agree on a standardized process and standardized language. This is hard and it's going to take some time, but it's necessary work of organizing the data you have and beginning to integrate the reports and the dashboards and capture everything in a unified way. You should be able to roughly visualize the customer journey from first touch to close deal. In fact, more than the customer journey, the revenue itself, the revenue's journey from start to finish should be completely mapped and visualized at this stage. Once you have the level 1's clean, disciplined data foundation built, you can actually start tracking performance with accuracy and confidence, which moves us on to level 2. Level 2 is defined by clear, concise primary acquisition KPIs. I'm talking about key performance indicators that are defined, agreed upon, and universally adopted. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Clean, clear, universally adopted data is the only way to be able to trust the information that you're getting. The mission of level 2 is to answer core questions about the performance of your acquisition funnel. So specifically, I'm thinking about how is the go-to-market model set up? Are you mapping it correctly? Do the numbers that your individual teams use match reality? Is the business on track to hit revenue targets? Actually, an even better question, do you have revenue targets? Why or why not? The desired end state of this level is that you can achieve full measurement of those acquisition KPIs, like the ability to accurately look at the entire left side of the revenue performance model, sessions through to closed one, and you can drive an initial layer of actionable insights from those metrics, your volume and conversion metrics. This is the time when you should be updating, optimizing, and honing those primary KPIs to make sure that they are the correct ones, that they're actually driving performance, and again, that they're universally adopted. The key achievement of level 2 maturity is all about the what. Once you've reached level 2, you should have unified, agreed upon answers to the immediate questions. What is our MQL to SQL conversion rate? Where does that live? How can I find it? What's our average deal size for X time period? Where does that live? Can everyone access it? Are we on track to hit a goal? Better yet, do we even have a goal? You're now operating with clarity when you can answer those core business questions. Moving on to level 3 is a major step. Level 3 is the strategic endgame for the first phase of growth. It's the moment where you actually unlock true repeatable predictability for the acquisition KPIs that we've been talking about. In level 3, data is partitioned into granular secondary drill down metrics. In addition to the primary KPIs, you'll have the ability to drill into partitions that answer the question, why? Why did we not hit that particular metric? Or why did we? You'll answer critical business questions for why or why not the primary KPIs were met, which gives you the who, what, when, and where of your information. It's not just what is our conversion rate. It's what is our conversion rate for enterprise accounts coming from LinkedIn in Q3, or what was the conversion rate for Jim Bob in X region with this product category. The ideal end state of level 3 is that critical secondary KPIs are created, those secondary partitions. They're created, they're adopted, and they're in your single source of truth. You now have the ability to utilize secondary KPIs to accurately forecast future revenue when you hit level 3. This is where you again take the opportunity to check your work and refine those secondary KPIs even further and continue driving a deeper level of insight for your forecasting. Your key achievement of level 3 is predictability. That's what you're aiming for. In level 3, you move from knowing what happened to knowing why it happened. And most importantly, knowing what you must do to fix it or to replicate it, to accelerate it. This is the moment you transition from a descriptive system into a predictive system. You'll be able to pinpoint revenue leakage mid-cycle rather than having to review it in the rearview mirror when it's too late. This is an exciting point because it's when you really start to feel the results of your hard work. Once level 3 is established and your left side funnel is predictable, that the acquisition KPIs, the funnel side of the revenue performance model, once it has actually become predictable and you have refined it and optimized it, then you can move on to level 4, implementing the finance side, the actual revenue metrics into your data model. Level 4 is defined by having primary revenue metrics like retention and expansion and churn defined, consistently adopted, and clearly universally tracked with all of your departments. Again, I'm going to reiterate, this is the time when you would pause, make sure that everyone's using the same language. How do you talk about a cross-sell? What makes a cross-sell into a different product category different than an upgrade or a renewal? What is the language that you're using in your business terminology? And is everyone using the same thing? Once you have that defined, you'll gain the ability to track the full revenue journey from lead to cash, and you can start drawing insights. That's level 5. Level 4 and 5 go hand in hand. So with level 4, this is where you're getting started. You're arming your teams with critical data usage, with the definitions that they need, the metrics, the primary revenue metrics, to actually drive insights that would reduce downgrades and increase expansion. Level 4 and 5, bringing in the finance data, is the strategic unlock that moves the company from being linear to exponential growth. This is where you can stop relying on only finding new customers and start compounding revenue from existing ones in addition. Level 5 is the ultimate end state. It's the integration of all operational go-to-market systems with the financial systems. It's the key that gives you the entire comprehensive revenue journey, lead all the way through to cash and expansion opportunities. So level 5 is defined by full financial operations being fully integrated into the go-to-market operations, clearly tracked by the revenue performance model, and having comprehensive visibility into the entire revenue engine. The purpose of level 5 is to fully integrate FinOps and GTM ops, so your finance operations with your go-to-market, your revenue generating operations. And it creates the full, complete lead to cash picture. It allows you to move beyond simple revenue figures, simple generic revenue figures, into actually measuring true profitability by linking marketing and sales spend directly to key metrics that mean something. You stop guessing what things cost and you start knowing. The key achievement of level 5 is total transparency. Level 5 gives you a look at any marketing campaign, any sales territory or product line, and gives you the information to know whether or not it's going to be eventually profitable or it's not. It gives you the ability to make highly accurate data-backed decisions that drive financial efficiency and maximize shareholder value. And that is the go-to-market maturity framework. To quickly recap, here's what you've got. Level 1, all about discipline and organization. All data is unified, documented. It goes into your single source of truth, and you have a unified language. Level 2, all about clarity. You know what your primary conversion rates are. You know if you're hitting your goals. You know what you're measuring, and you are starting to benchmark it. Level 3 is all about predictability. You know the what from level 2. Now you know the why. You're digging into your conversion rates as what they are, and why they're happening. And you can forecast accurately into the future because of those secondary partitions and drill downs, because you're answering that why. Level 4, this is where you're compounding, you're measuring, you're accelerating, and you're optimizing the financial metrics that you need to bring in to really get the entirety of that lead to cash revenue map. Then at level 5, you've got transparency and efficiency. Full transparency. You know the true cost and the profitability of every action. Now you know what you're working toward, but don't get ahead of yourself. Remember, revenue operations is a process, not a project. It's going to take time to get it right. But when it is done right, when you fully commit to the maturity path, you're going to transform your organization. You're going to unlock the full potential of your revenue data, and you're going to steer your company towards scalable, predictable growth.